What's up, what it do? Welcome back to the channel. It's Eon Williams. Welcome back to the DC Blacks channel. Hey, a lot of times when I bring you stories or I cover different stories, right, I like to come with receipts. So maybe a month or two back, I did a kind of like a reactionary video to something that Gotti Jr. said. He was talking about an incident that happened in Marion, and he alleged that his father got sucker punched. I'm really not here to challenge whether his father got sucker punched or not. That story kind of old. We might could revisit that story when I go back into this DC AB thing, but I didn't bring the receipts pertaining to Gotti Jr. being an informant because I didn't feel like it was needed because he admitted to it. However, I seen a topic where a guy that covers mafia content addressed it, and he addressed it based on something that Gotti Jr. recently said. So, and on my platform and in other things that I do on other social media platforms where I talk about proffers, debriefing, for those who don't know, anytime that you proffer, you're proffering, you're giving something to the government, you're sitting down with them making some type of deal. Anytime you're doing a debriefing is to bring them up to speed on something. When it comes to the federal government, you can only bring them up to speed on criminal activity or activity based on or activity about something that someone else is doing based on an investigation. But anyway, just check out this right here. Shout out to the dude that covered this already. I didn't really even check his name out, but for sure, it's his voice. You'll hear him. If he hears it, he knows who it is. But nevertheless, Gotti Jr., stop lying, bro. You did a proffer. You did a debriefing. And some of those mafia guys, you know, as a kid, I used to kind of research and read a lot of mafia books when I was in jail and whatnot. I mean, you know, I thought them dudes was gangsters. Not to say that they weren't gangsters, but a lot of them turned out to be racist. So that kind of changed my outlook on them. But nevertheless, check out this video for those that's into the, you know, I see a lot of African-American guys, young and old, you know what I mean? They still, you know, attribute, you know, Gotti or the name Gotti to being something that's gangster. I ain't gonna say that the father, although he was racist, I ain't gonna say that he wasn't a gangster. He was a gangster. He didn't do no telling. But him being racist just took him out the category of what I even consider or care about being gangsters. But let me know what you think.
Now, it's customary when you join the mafia, you take an oath called omertà. Omertà is translated as a code of silence about criminal activity and refusal to give evidence to authorities. Now, as is well known on this channel, I've talked about John Gotti sitting down with the federal government in 2005. At one point, he would call it a, quote, weak moment. That said, on Patrick Bet-David's interview, he continues to try to get away from the fact that in the streets he is looked at as what he doesn't want to be, a government informant. That said, in the interview, he made excuse after excuse in regards to this document, stating that he, quote, got approval from other members of his family and members of other families to sit down with the feds. That said, that doesn't make sense due to the fact that Junior, according to him, was shelved, aka banished from the mafia in 1999 by his father after he asked him to essentially leave the mob. The document and the subsequent sit-down happened 6 years later in 2005, which doesn't make sense due to the fact that if he was shelved, the mafia would never deal with him. Now, he claims that multiple people inside his own family agreed with it and said that he should go along with it, and that includes Joseph Arcuri, a man who spent nearly 50 years in the mob and no way would ever elicit someone sitting down with the government. He also claims that Alphonse Funzi Siska, as well as Arnold Squitieri, the boss at the time of the Gambino crime family, instructed him that they did not agree with his decision. He would also state that Bonanno boss Joe Messino, a man that Gotti Jr. had known for years, would tell him that he should not go along with it due to the fact that he would be perceived as, guess what, a rat. Now, Jr. states that he would tell Messino that he loved him, that it didn't matter, though. He was a civilian at that point. So again, why would the mob sit down with a civilian and talk to the civilian who isn't in the mob anymore about why he shouldn't sit down with the government? None of this makes sense. And unfortunately, it was a good interview. That said, it was overshadowed by absolutely ridiculous statements regarding a 302 that if John Gotti Jr. would just come out and talk about and admit that he did, a lot of things would be alleviated. The truth is, whether or not you believe it, the name Gotti is no longer synonymous with organized crime. In fact, people like Jr. are no longer welcome in those circles.